I live in a building where the elevator never shows the same numbers twice. That sounds weird, I know, but if you've ever stayed in it for more than a few seconds, you've noticed it. The scoreboard above the door sometimes blinks. Numbers disappear, appear, jump. Sometimes, very rarely, instead of a floor, there is a symbol that should not be there. Minus, not 1, not 2, just. I've been living here for 6 years. An old 9-story building on the outskirts of the city, built in Soviet times. Concrete walls, narrow stairs, the smell of dampness, and old metal. There is a basement, like in most such houses. There are pipes, cells, old strollers, broken furniture, but officially only one underground level. The ground floor is technical. Below is nothing. That's what the documents say. That's what the residents say. That's what I said. Until one evening, the elevator carried me further. I came back late that day. Rain. The phone is almost dead. In my head, hum from a whole day of work. I pressed the elevator button automatically without looking. The door closed with a dry queering. I pressed 7. The elevator moved and stopped immediately. The light flashed. Great, I muttered, leaning against the wall. The scoreboard showed 0. Then the number disappeared. Instead of it, a minus appeared. I thought it was a glitch. Old elevator, electronics. Nothing special. But the cabin began to go down. Slowly, too slow. The sound was strange, not the same as usual when the elevator goes down. Not the hum, and not the creak of cables. And something deaf, as if the cabin was being dragged through a dense fabric. It was as if the air around had become thicker. I pressed the stop button. Nothing. I clicked, call the dispatcher. Silence. The phone in your pocket vibrated and went out. The light in the elevator became dimmer. The lamp above my head began to pulsate, as if to breathe. Then I realized we drove through the basement. It's impossible. After the basement, the elevator always stops. Even if it's broken, even if something is wrong, you can't go any further. There's just nothing. But the cabin was driving. The door opened without ringing. There was a corridor in front of me. Not a basement. The corridor was long, narrow, with a low ceiling. The walls are concrete, but covered with old paint that came out in scraps. The lamps are the same as in the entrance, but the light from them was yellow, dead, and silence. Full. Even the hum of pipes is absent. I didn't go out right away. I stood in the elevator, clutching the strap of my backpack, and watched. The air there seemed thick, colder than in the cabin, and it smelled of old age, dust, mustiness, and something else, sweet, unpleasant. The scoreboard above the door showed the same symbol. I took a step forward, and the elevator closed behind my back. Without warning, no signal. I turned around abruptly and pressed the call button. Nothing. The cabin is gone. Where she was a second ago, there was now a solid concrete wall. Smooth, cold, no seams, no doors. I stayed there. I went down the corridor. I don't know why. Probably because standing was even more terrible. The footsteps sounded dull, as if someone had swallowed the sound. The lamps were flashing, some were burned out. There are inscriptions on the walls, old, scratched by nails or something sharp. I didn't want to read them, but the eyes clung to themselves. Don't come down. If you see IT, you're already here. He is listening to the elevator. My heart was pounding so loudly that I was afraid that someone would hear. The corridor branched. On the left is the stairs down. On the right is another corridor, darker. Go downstairs. I looked at them and felt the cold run through my back. The stairs led to where there could be nothing. Below the lower. I went to the right. There was a door. Many doors. They looked like ordinary apartment doors. Numbers, old bells, scratches. But the numbers were wrong. -1, -2, -3, and further. I heard a sound. Quiet, barely elusive. Crying. He was in from behind the door with the number -4. I came closer. My heart was pounding in my throat. The crying was female, quiet, suffocated, as if someone was trying not to scream. I touched the handle. She was warm. I pulled my hand away. Is there anyone? I whispered. Crying verse. Something moved behind the door. Slowly. I retreated. And then the door opened by itself. There was a room inside. Small. It looks like a kitchen in Khrushchev. Table, chairs, the old refrigerator. And a woman. She sat with her back to me. Her hair was long, dirty, clusty. Clothes are something like a hospital shirt. She swayed back and forth. Are you lost? I asked. She stopped swinging. She slowly turned her head. She had no face. Where the eyes, nose, mouth were supposed to be, there was smooth skin. It's like someone erased everything with an eraser. But there was a voice. Elevator, she whispered. He said one more descent. And I could get out. I retreated. How long have you been here? She tilted her head. I don't remember. There is no time here. There are only floors here. She stood up. I noticed that her feet were not touching the floor. Don't go any further, she said. They don't come back there any more. The light went out. I ran. The corridor seemed longer than before. The lamps were extinguished one by one. I heard footsteps behind me, slow, confident, and the sound of the elevator. Bell. I saw the cabin ahead. It was open. The light inside was brighter than everything around. I jumped inside and pressed any button. The door closed. The elevator went up. The scoreboard showed numbers that changed too quickly. -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. I fell to the floor and cried. When the door opened, I was in my driveway, as if nothing had happened. The next day I went to my neighbor from the first floor, an old woman who has lived here since the house was handed over. Tell me, I started cautiously, and the elevator, did it ever go below the basement? She went white. Did you see him? She whispered. Who? What lives between the floors? She told me a story about how several workers disappeared in the mine during construction, about how the elevator sometimes mistakes how people disappear or come back. Not really. If you see a minus, she said, emit out right away. Don't think. Don't listen. What if the door doesn't open? She looked at me with a long look. Then he chose you. A month has passed. I tried not to use the elevator. Walked up the stairs. Even when my legs hurt. Even when I was in a hurry. But today, I wasn't alone today. I got into the elevator with a boy of about 10. He smiled, pressed the button. "I love this elevator," he said. "It sometimes shows a secret floor." The scoreboard blinked. There was a minus. I shouted, "No, don't look, don't go out." But the door was already open, and the boy took a step forward. "I don't know how it will end. I write this while sitting in the cabin while she slowly descends." The scoreboard no longer shows numbers, only cons, many minuses, and I hear someone behind the elevator wall laughing softly.